appreciate your help. Appreciate y'all's help and everybody. I look forward to able to work with everybody as a team. So
Good. Well, I think we're very fortunate to have you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next are the minutes. We've got the minutes from last month's public hearing first. And does anybody have any corrections?
Move to approve the minutes from the public hearing.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the minutes from the regular meeting.
Move to approve the minutes from the regular meeting from 3/3.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Any questions or corrections? Nope. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving right along. Okay. So our first applicant, John, you can back again, we get tired of this. Presentation, possible action on H-3-22, a request from John Lester on behalf of Charles Fletcher for the demolition of the existing garage contributing structure to allow for the construction of a new accessory structure. The property is located at 324 Savannah Road, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.07, 153.004-R-4H contributing. Now, last month, we had a public hearing about this, and we were not able to proceed because we were missing one of the surveys, which we have since received. And so does anyone have, any of the commissioners have any questions or comments about that? No? Okay. Yeah,
So it's not contributing.
so it's, yes, so the survey that we were missing is describes the lot contains one outbuilding, a one-story frame garage featuring a front gable roof with asphalt shingles built in 1950 to the northwest of the dwelling. And that was the
missing part.
That was the missing part. So we now have, we now can have a discussion and take a vote on the request for demolition of the existing structure. Does anybody have any comments or questions for John? Any additional questions?
I'd just like to say that I'm glad, John, to see you here, and what you're planning on building after the old garage is done is something that complements the property. So I'm glad to see that.
Did someone want to make a motion to approve the demolition request?
I'll make the motion that we approve, the commission approve the demolition of the structure. On
Whatever it is. The garage.
Yeah, the garage at 324 Savannah.
Second that.
320. Yes. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Get that out of the way. Now
Madam
we
Chair.
can talk about what you want to do there. If you want, we can go ahead and.
Do you have any questions?
Madam
No, I
Chair.
think we never did get around to kind of looking at what you were doing because we got all sidelined with
Madam Chair.
the demolition, whether we could approve the demolition or not.
You should have photographs.
We have everything. We have this whole big pile of stuff here.
I might add, that it's been approved by the Board of Adjustment.
Can you pull the mic up just a little bit, please? And I do have people on Zoom via my laptop, so
Okay, does that include Brian and Michael?
yes,
Okay. So are they allowed to participate?
we are doing my best.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
So,
Madam Chair,
and it looks like a big improvement to what's there.
Well, the building that's there is obsolete, really. It's a low headroom inside. And the materials are
run down pretty much.
Mhm.
I don't think it's anything gross to be proud of.
I think you're right. I think I just had a couple questions. I was looking for where you talked about the colors. There was like a cut sheet here, but of course you can't tell what color anything is because it's printed in black
It's
and
pretty
white.
simple. It's gonna be a white building with a gray roof.
Okay,
It's best
Is the roof gonna be metal? It says
metal,
optional.
standing seam metal.
It is gonna be, okay.
okay, so the roof is gray? Roof is gray?
Yes,
Okay. And the rest of the building completely all white? Okay, so that's sliding windows
yes.
and the garage door, you're gonna use existing garage doors?
No, I think we would like to increase the garage door a foot in height.
Okay,
I just learned that set to wins.
okay,
Oh, okay.
well, that'll be better.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it gonna be doors, garage doors that look like we're looking at here? It's gonna have windows up above it?
It will,
Did it have windows?
yes.
Okay. Pretty much like this, except the row of windows up above?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering about that too, Mark. That's good. That means everything's gonna be new.
Everything will be done,
Right. Okay.
including the slab. Can't even use it, it's broken up.
Yeah, well, one thing I really liked is I like the fact that, you know, he's gonna be able to park. You have 2 parking spots there now. We're also gonna bring this into code by
Mhm.
taking the other down. That's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good feature. Is that what you talked to the Board of Adjustment about?
I wasn't at the hearing before,
Okay.
I'm sure it was brought up.
Okay,
Yeah, the Board of Adjustment application was just to deal with that it's a 2-story building and not a 1.5-story building. That was the request to the Board of Adjustment, that it be allowed to be a 2-story accessory structure.
okay, good.
Is that not, they could not have done that without?
A variance, correct.
No.
An accessory structure is only allowed to be 1.5 stories and has a maximum height of 24 feet.
Okay.
We'll be under the 24 feet. The reason we had to get the Board of Adjustment involved is because code says the 2 walls have to be no higher than 24 inches, which means you really don't have a second floor at all.
Hmm.
You have a higher one in the front and the back, but on the sides, you can't do anything with it.
Hmm.
That's a bad piece of legislation.
Yes, I know.
It is
Yeah.
on our list to look at.
Because
Yes.
we photographed about 13 or 14, which represent only about half the buildings that are in violation of the.
Mhm.
what we look at. It needs to be changed.
I know, because, so many lots are so tiny and people, if they have a garage, they really depend on utilizing some space,
Sure.
whether it's for storage or whether it's a office, home office or whatever. Yeah, I agree with you on that. So do we have any other comments, questions?
Yeah, John, I'm wondering, are you planning for rain gutters and downspouts?
Hasn't been mentioned, but
That's one way to help your sidewalls last longer, to keep the water away from
sure.
the base, but my
Well, you
consider
gotta
that.
have 8 inches above grade level if that little siding starts. That's a code issue. So, but
Just keep it in mind.
we just haven't made the specs up that closely to address the gutter.
Okay. Thank you. So John, picture paints 1,000 words, but if you could, to help me a little bit, just talk a little bit about the materials. So the siding and the windows are Andersons.
Yes,
Right.
windows are Anderson.
Okay. And your siding is a clapboard?
Jacob, do you have the samples on that?
Yes.
This is Jacob Webb, he's the builder on the job.
Okay.
So,
You just need to give your name and address.
Jacob Webb, 26 Debris Circle.
Thank you.
It's gonna be James Hardy, the cedar shake,
Okay.
7-inch reveal. And all white siding and white composite trim. The back porch is gonna have composite railing, just we're just gonna go with white composite. On the drawing, he has the stainless steel.
Hmm.
But we decided to go with the white composite, it'd be more traditional.
What about the framing on the windows and the sill? Is that more traditional style? I mean, it's not picture frame.
No, not picture frame. I was just thinking 5/4 by 4. It could have a window, like a sill, you know, if that was something.
Well, it's
Actually.
just, you know, an actual sill is
Mhm.
more
We can go with that.
more traditional and would probably, you know, generally any of the outbuildings or garages, you know, the closer it replicates some of the
actual
house. Yeah, that's why I thought maybe that we were gonna make it blue or yellow. But that's okay. Yeah. All right, so you're just gonna basically replicate the window trim and sill on the house, if not listening.
Here's the rail we're gonna use.
Oh, nice.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Nice and simple. Anybody have any additional questions?
I guess they're gonna redo the driveway or put it
There
in.
is a driveway now.
Yeah.
It will be an apron.
Concrete,
Concrete.
okay. So all the roof areas all gonna be metal seam, even this little part that's coming out there is all gonna be standing seam too, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Is this the landscaping plan?
I think that's.
Did you have one of these in your packet?
Never seen.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Maybe the general Fletcher.
Pleasure.
Oh,
That was the fold, the painting from the 1950s that he submitted at the last meeting for the public hearing, saying that it was not a contributing structure.
Oh, because this, oh, that's right, that's right. I forgot about that, yeah. That's, yeah,
This is gonna be nice for us.
I think so too. This would be a nice, yeah.
Nice addition.
Yes, so very nice, very nice. Yeah.
Having said all that, I'd like to make the motion that because the application concerns a property that is contributing, but we're talking about a space that is non-contributing, I move that we approve the application for the 324 Savannah Road in Lewis, and that's tax map 335.8.07.153.00.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And I was just asked to remind everybody to do a roll call vote for certain items.
Thank you.
Right, so we can roll call.
Okay, so who made the motion? You
I
made
make
it.
a motion.
So you get to go first.
I vote in favor of the motion. I think that your design is very appealing and will fit in with the streetscape and the rhythm and flow of Savannah Road. Thank you.
The old building was non-contributing, this would be non-contributing. We also bring it into code. And I think it was tastefully designed using materials that we previously have approved in other projects.
And I vote to approve also because not only what has already been said, but that this is a very nice addition in keeping with the historic district. Yes.
I vote yes for all the same previous comments.
All right, I vote yes, agreeing with all the comments that have been made already. And I do want to apologize that we dragged this out so long, but it just made it a lot easier and clearer, you know, when we got that second survey.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks for coming.
You just, nice to see you.
So is Michael able to ask a question or anything?
He should be able to.
Okay.
Well, we have quorum with that.
Yes, you do.
I know, but I don't want to exclude him.
No, I have attempted to promote him as a panelist and he just has not accepted and come on, but he can also
I hear someone saying you can get it very nicely on YouTube.
Yes, the YouTube is perfect and
Can't participate.
You can't participate.
yeah.
Oh, that.
And here comes Michael.
Okay, so can you talk, Michael, can you hear us?
He's probably sulking.
Michael?
So we're still working it out. I have suggested to people, we did put the closed captioning on, so you can read along on Zoom.
Oh,
And if they have questions or anything, they can use the chat or the Q&A, and I will make sure I ask those questions on everybody's behalf.
okay, all right.
We're doing our best tonight.
Yes.
That's all we can do.
And so, Michael, I'm hoping that you and Brian can hear, and so that Janelle can relay your questions, should you have any.
Okay,
And I'll make sure that we pause after each applicant so
okay.
that you have an opportunity to participate. So next, we're going to review the request from Mark and Christine Shura for the demolition of the existing house contributing structure to allow for the construction of a new house. Property is located at 404 Rhodeline Avenue, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8. .12-23.00-002 or -4H, and that's 404 Rhodeline. Mark, do you want to come up in case anybody has a question?
And just for technical items, if you are listening to Zoom, you can actually use the Zoom, if you're on YouTube, you can use the YouTube chat and we can read that information as well.
Okay, now we are now.
Doing telephone for Michael, so she can get his vote.
Yeah, I've reached out to Michael via the chat and I just have not heard back from him.
Now, what we're going to do right now is have a discussion and then a vote on the request for demolition. We're not going to review the application, the design, because I understood that it wasn't quite complete.
But we'd like to have a conversation.
Thank you, Mark. We can have a conversation. And so does anyone have any questions, additional questions or comments about the request for demolition? And I want to just go back and I think this was mentioned, but this same property in 2020, we had approved
Right.
demolition, and we had also approved the design for a new structure, but it never happened for whatever reason. So, which it sort of has set a precedent, but because it's 2 years ago and that expired, we had to go through jump through the hoops again. So anyway, so anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Yes?
yes, we're gonna vote on the demolition. At another meeting, we will be able to review the proposed
Yes,
residence plans.
yes. There's a couple of code issues that haven't been resolved yet, and the application was missing some items as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we make any comments about that?
We
So that we go
can.
into the next meeting, and I got a concern.
Yes, but first we're gonna vote on the
On the-
demolition
okay.
request.
But
So,
then I would suggest that you'd like to have a conversation.
yes,
And that we're not actually going to review the
No.
plan tonight.
no, we're not gonna
So,
review it.
But we can talk a little bit.
Yeah.
So can I have a motion to approve the demolition request?
I make the motion that we approve the demolition request at 404 Rhodeline.
Have a second?
Second that.
Any questions? No? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Perfect. Okay,
A roll call vote for your reasons as to why you approved the demolition of the contributing structure.
yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Did we do a roll call on the last demolition?
For the last meeting, yes. Not for the last application. The last application,
All right. Well, all right, in any
For
case,
the-
if I make the motion, I would be happy to tell you,
Thank
the
you.
reason I'm voting yes, or I am voting yes, is because, first of all, this application for demolition was approved 2 years ago. Nothing has changed. Let's move on.
The contributing structure in the past, I'll try to recover my words from 2020. No foundation, safety factor, firewall problem, no historic value. So keep going. I think it sounds like
Yeah. Okay.
For the same reasons that, already have been expressed. And I was part of the meeting 2 years ago. And I agreed on demolition then, and I agree on demolition now.
Joe?
considering the thing was bad 2 years ago, it's even worse now. I'll agree to demolition now. Yes.
Okay, I also agree to the demolition request, and I thought the letter that was included was very clear. And again, nothing's changed. It still requires a demolition. So,
What about Michael?
Michael.
Can anyone, can you
got a
hear
vote
me?
from Michael?
Can anyone hear me?
I'm waiting for him to.
Can any,
Yeah,
Can
he
anyone-
votes aye per 197.59 and Bill's comments.
I'll send him
Okay,
something over to his house.
so we've already voted, and so now we've just given the reasons for our votes, and we're
Yes.
good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll get the demolition permit, and now you said you just wanted to make it.
Yes, given the status of this property as part of a 2-unit condo, it has created some questions and concerns for us relative to lot coverage and some other issues. So I think that if you so indulge, I'd like to let Mike kind of go through what our thinking is. And if we can get a little bit of feedback, our intent would be to come back at the next meeting based on what we hear with a request for approval. So if that's okay, I'd like to have Mike come up.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, Michael Looney, 110 Gibson Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware. And nice to be with you tonight.
Excuse me, are you the architect?
That's correct. So I think we met once, Delaware Architecture Foundation or
I
something.
think so too.
Yes.
Can you move the mic up a little bit, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
The subject property is a single lot, and it has been condominiumized so that there are 2 units on a single lot. So that kind of raises some questions about how lot coverage gets applied to this property, because the way I would understand the zoning code, it would apply to the entire property and not parts of it, because it's a legally described, single lot. Lot coverage is limited to 60%. And we analyzed it as a single property as well as unit 1 and unit 2. And in the worst case scenario, the unit that Mark is intending to build, based on our current design, we are right at the 60% lot coverage limit for just that portion of the subject property. But if we look at it in the aggregate, we're about 51% lot coverage, including the proposed building. And that includes sidewalks, sheds, etc.
I need to stop you there if I could ask Joe real quick. Isn't it 65 instead of 60?
No, it's zone,
60?
yes, sir, zone. And then also the setbacks are different also.
Okay.
Setbacks are different for this property than other properties?
Yes, because what it's zoned, and a lot of properties are 8 feet in R4, but since it's zoned, it's.
Because this
it's
is
gonna be
on
10
property.
feet.
Because
Yes,
it's an
sir.
attached building, because it's a duplex, it has a different lot coverage and different setbacks.
So what's
Because it's condo.
Setbacks are 10 foot for the side yard and it has a lot coverage of 60%. Typically in the R4 for a single family, you have an 8-foot side yard and a 65% lot coverage. But because it's a duplex, it's got 10-foot side yards and a 60% lot coverage.
Thank you.
Sorry, Joe.
So
No, that's good. That's your,
That's
my
that's your,
area.
yeah, it's
some
your.
ways of looking at it, this would be at or under 60%.
Okay, so it's really, it's Joe, it would be Joe and Janelle that can tell you that. We don't do code.
Okay, well,
We try not to anyway.
okay, very good.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Joe still had some questions.
There was this, questions about the lot coverage also, about the setback with the shed, with the porch, is a 10-foot setback with the structure, area with the main structure.
There's an existing shed there that is non-conforming,
Mhm.
and that has been the question whether, that should be allowed to remain or should.
That would be up to, that would be an
Well,
HPARC.
that's, I mean, you can demolish it along with all the other buildings,
Right.
but if you don't, then it's going to be a little bit of a restriction,
Yes,
and you're gonna have to modify the plan.
right.
So,
So you're gonna take it down.
well.
You have permission to take it down.
See, My wife and I probably need to. I think what we'd like to do, and this goes back to probably maybe modifying the design. What wasn't clear is the lot coverage helps in where this fits as a grandfather piece. But if we were to keep it, what we would do is we would reskin that and it would be part of the overall design. I think there was, when Joe and I talked about, I'm not entirely, I guess we need clarification relative to, is there a 10-foot separation between that building, the outbuilding and the porch?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's going to require a modification of the design that we have today. But that's something Christine and I will resolve, because we weren't quite sure. We wanted to get a definitive answer before we came back, but now that we have that. So that's helpful.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and the shed, I believe the shed can be relocated to a different spot, but of course, the setback, its current location, it's closer to the line than it would be allowed to be. So you kind of.
That's correct, yes.
You have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of keeping it and or moving it.
Well, there's an aesthetic issue and then there's a practical issue. And I think we can deal with the aesthetics, but just so I'm clear, if I can, if we leave the shed where it is, it's grandfathered in, the building itself or with the porch cannot be 10 feet away from that. That's
Because the
requirement.
new structure then has to be compliant.
That's fine. Okay, that helps.
That
Thank
was
you.
it. Yeah, okay. Is that your
That
only
is.
question? Is that about,
I looked at the site plan and wonder if you would please note where cars are gonna park
Right.
and what is the paving material?
The intent is the
Impervious
section to the left.
Right, there'll be 2 off-street spots in front of the house.
I saw that.
So we'll, when we come back to discuss this, we will have that information in advance.
Great. All right, thank you.
I felt like the site plan really wasn't complete.
Okay.
Question.
yeah, go ahead.
When you look at the condo unit and you look at the contributing structure on Franklin, which is all 1 month supposedly, that protrudes out. So I don't see any pictures in here that helps me because you can see it from Franklin. I need to be able to see that condo that's coming out. How many feet does it protrude out beyond the building that's on Franklin?
Okay.
How far does that go to the right? Like if you're looking at the house on Franklin, how far? Because I don't have it.
Isn't it on the site
No,
plan?
no.
Yeah, that's,
This is it. This shows the front.
wait.
Is that what you mean? Are you talking about elevations? Because that shows,
I'm talking about this unit here, this unit here from another drawing that I see here. I think it's A1.1. Look at that, but it shows this, correct me if I want to correct me. This unit here is further out. It's further out from the unit, the home on, see which one, yeah.
well,
What's on Franklin here, this protrudes out, way out here. And so when you see this, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see a condo that's cedar shake on the side, right?
We can speak to there's an elevation in here if that's helpful. Okay, we can have a more informed discussion. I can see. This is in a larger.
Correct.
So,
Because I'm gonna go to that, A1.1 or whatever, because, but tell me, whatever, when you look at this,
Thanks.
this goes out further than the building is on Franklin, is that right? And how far out does that go? Because you're gonna see that from Franklin, and that concerns me. because the condo itself is gonna be cedar shaped and different design than what you see on Franklin.
It says it's like 4 feet.
No,
Yeah.
over here, yeah, I'm talking about over here, it's gonna come out maybe 10 feet or something, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, I think, on A11. But I'm not looking at it.
You're effectively asking for rear elevation.
And what I'm saying is that when I look at the condo next time, and I'm making a decision on the condo, because that's what I'll be doing, I really need to also look it around in my mind and look at this property also from the backside of that condo, which is on Franklin, and say these two, what I'm trying to say is the house that's contributing on Franklin and the condo that you got here, the design needs to kind of dovetail. It needs to kind of, you don't want one stands out and looks like a, even though you're using materials that that are approved, cedar shake is great and all, but what you got over here, it's gonna be totally different. I mean, if you were to look at this, you would see
There's another drawing that has.
this is gonna come out and look totally different. I'm gonna go to it while we're at it, because I was looking at it when I threw it in the package.
Well, I think you made a good point there, because, if it were just a lot, then there'd be all this space around it. But you're going to see them, at some point, you see them together, especially from Franklin.
And it's gonna come out quite a bit, 10 or 12 feet there. I'm trying to think of when I was looking at that, and I said, wow, so I need to see that from Franklin, that design of the condo on Rhodoline. I need a snapshot picture of what that's gonna look like.
This shows the view from, this shows the view. This is, I mean, you don't see it pictured, but you see it as a mass. This is the Rhodoline view of the back of.
Yeah, Rhodoline.
So the blue,
That's Franklin.
I mean Franklin. Yeah, this is the house that's on Franklin.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna, it's much smaller than the proposed.
Yeah, and so I'm saying the condo part, looking at it from Franklin, that is gonna be totally different than the small contributing. And that, I'm just saying, this, we're all talking about this right now. We're gonna get into greater detail next month. That is gonna be a point of interest for me, because I wanna see, when we're talking about rhythm and scale and all of that kind of stuff, we need to look at both of the unit, the condo unit and the house itself, and make sure that we do a favor to the contributing structure when we do this. And so that we do it, from a historic preservation standpoint. So that's there, you're right, Barbara, but it's not quite for me to be able to look at it and really, because you don't see the materials, so to speak, there versus the materials on the contributing structure, so that it would show you, they really designed this so that you can't tell much of a difference. There's a good flow there, yeah. You can't tell much of a difference between the contributing and the condo, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's a side view too. So, shows. Yeah, it's a mass.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot more mass to your structure.
So it sounds like you're looking for a colored rendering showing the existing building on Franklin and the proposed building.
Well, I think even if it's
Something.
elevation.
Elevations.
And you can see the mass here, but I think that house is yellow.
Closer to it in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess you're not thinking about yellow.
but what I'm understanding is you're looking for
I'm gonna be looking,
commonality in that
yes,
elevation.
yes. I'm gonna be looking at your trim, I'm gonna be looking at your windows, I'm gonna be looking at the contributing structure itself and say, hey, do I have a mesh here?
I think the challenge then becomes,
I just need you closer to the mic, please.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think the challenge then becomes where that begins and ends. Because all of a sudden we're being required to, if you extend that logic out, we have to mirror what's already on the other half. And I don't know that that's required under the code. So I think we're trying to understand I think we can certainly address that, and I hear you. I think the question is, I want to understand what.
Yeah, I would look at it in the same way we look at streetscape. And we'll look at streetscape, because from what I remember from the other pictures,
Exactly right.
from the earlier submission, I mean, your structure has a lot more mass to it than neighboring structures on the streetscape.
Right, and I think the design that was before you prior also was significantly different from what you see on Franklin Street. I think it may have been smaller.
Yeah, it was
But in terms of materials, there was a distinct difference.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking.
So I mean, our guidelines are, streetscape proportion, that it doesn't, your structure doesn't look out of place, it's compatible, all those words.
Also, occupants are gonna be coming and going at different times, and there has to be exterior lighting. It's very important that lighting is residential in character and not your public parking lot.
So anyway, it's a challenging, job. you guys
That's
have.
the discussion's appreciated.
I have one more question. Either for your architect or for Joe, when you demolish your half of the structure and you expose a common wall between the units, is there a certain fire rating you have to meet?
1 hour.
1 hour. But you have access to one side, but not the other, so.
Well, we would use a shaft wall construction. It gives us 1 hour. Protected on both sides. The shaft wall itself is 1 hour.
5/8 inch drywall or something.
Yeah, and-
It's 2 layers of 1 inch with a H-shaped metal stud.
Metal stud.
It's what they use around elevators and things like that.
Okay.
Similar, it's also what they use in townhouses. So the shaft wall gives you the rating, and the walls that go up against it don't have rating. You put the wires in here and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Sound insulation.
That'll all be done along with the fire suppression system as part of the building plan review. So we will take care of that.
Okay.
I have been reminded that if you're going to postpone it, you might need a vote on the
We're
application.
not reviewing the application. We were just offering feedback. This is not a formal review.
I think you,
Because the application is not complete.
so, because it was on for you potential review, do you just want to postpone it until they come back with additional information to make it a clean process?
In the past, we've requested that the owner withdraw their application.
Oh, this is not.
Should we table it or is that?
Actually, the presentation and possible action on the request was for the demolition of the house.
And
allow-
to allow for the construction of a new
Well,
house,
well,
so,
that's tied to the demolition request.
okay, so,
Request is demolition to allow for the construction of new house. But we never intended to review it because we always knew the application was incomplete.
okay, then
And
I,
so that draw should go to the minutes. And so I don't think we really need to do any tabling. We were just responding to the request by the applicant for
then I've
casual
been
conversation.
suggested that we move on to the next item as that is not then on the agenda.
And, well, thank you.
And if it's not, it always is very helpful if we could actually see a model. Have a if it's too good, I mean, we don't require that, if that's
Physical?
yes,
That's,
yeah,
Yeah,
something to
that's
scale.
a costly.
That's a costly thing.
Yeah, I really.
Cut some cardboard.
Yeah,
up.
but, no, actually, I think maybe you can do a little 3D angle that shows.
Is the issue the rear elevation?
It's the
Yeah.
issue of the two structures being so close together.
And I think they'll have the ability, based on this conversation, to provide additional information and try to get as much information as you can. But
Well, that was just a
to-
suggestion.
I understand.
to move us on to the,
That's.
Did
That's-
Michael have any questions?
Michael did not have any questions that I have seen come through.
I can
And
provide
I've seen some of that.
Model that you download an app and you can look at it on your tablet. or your
Okay.
phone.
Yeah, that you can submit that with the application.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right.
Be very helpful.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And, okay, Brian didn't have any other questions other than to move along?
Correct.
All right, okay. Let me just get my
Friendly reminder to,
pile of papers here. So many different things here.
Not on the agenda, isn't
Hmm?
it? Not on the agenda today.
Yeah, and and it's a lot of stuff. This is now just, so we've done that, we've done that one. And this is, and do we have anybody here from Chestnut?
they are on Zoom.
Oh dear,
All right.
okay.
How you gonna do that?
No, we're gonna break cover.
Oh, look, wait, I saw a picture. I saw a picture of us.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that, anybody else.
All right, let me get all my notes here.
It was a challenge.
What was this? No, not that one. This is the green binder.
Yep.
No, you're in the wrong binder.
Blue one. It's a.
This was,
Okay, so if you want to,
This is-
Yeah, I got it.
so if you want to read the next item, and then I've got comments from Michael.
Okay, so this is, you're now at 358 Chestnut Street. And this is presentation possible action or to reschedule a public hearing on H-11-22 on behalf of, how do you pronounce that, Lena? Lena?
Lena, pronounced Lena.
I believe it's Lena.
Lena, okay. Lena Walker and Aaron Rosenboom.
Rosenbaum.
358 Chestnut Street for the demolition of the garage potentially contributing and the construction of an addition to the rear of the house. The property is located at 358 Chestnut Street, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.071-171.00R-4H. And did Michael want to go first?
Yes, so Michael says the documentation presented is very thorough and makes it very clear that the garage is in fact not contributing and is adversely affects health, safety, and welfare of the city and surrounding area per 197-59-4. The rot and flea, or maybe it was rat and flea issue is of a concern. Again, the supporting documentation is exemplary. Shed, deck, shower blends with the existing structure and the surrounding neighborhood. And that's what he had in the comments.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, if you can hear me. And I think that was very thorough and very well said. I agree with you 100%. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add or reinforce? You got purple. Oh.
We got blue, purple, green, red, magenta.
So we're just talking demo, right?
Yes, we're just talking demo. For right now, we have to determine
if it's a contributing structure or not, and then if it is not determined to be a contributing structure, you can move on with the construction of the addition to the rear of the house.
So it's 1930, so it's contributing.
It's not 1930.
Oh, and here's something. It's really was 1930. And you can look at the timbers in there. I can tell you right now, just looking at those timbers, that's not 2002, or that's not 1983, or that's not, I just know by doing these things for the last 6 years.
You're counting the rings on the timber.
I can tell you right now, it's 1930 or 40. But that's before 1949. I'm looking at the structure of those beams in there on, if I'm looking right, this thing, I mean, what it looks like to me is they poured concrete base and they didn't go through to the frame. And as a result of that, it had nothing supporting it, and there you see it doing its thing. You gotta dig under there and you gotta lay that concrete all the way to the other side. I just did one. And you have to, you'd have to put some treated lumber underneath of that and probably some barrier of sorts, and that would have worked.
Termite
Yeah. Yeah, so that didn't happen, but if you look at the frame, just my opinion, this thing is contributing.
Well, did you look at all her attachments or all the attachments?
Yeah.
You know, they've got new foundation, and that was 2009.
I'd say it's contributing, but the condition of it currently is at the point where contributing or non-contributing, I don't think you can say that. It's gone.
I mean, it's, you know, it's the site plan, you know, it's changed also. It's been
Yeah.
modified. It's modified from a 2-car garage to a 1-car
Yeah.
garage, plus,
It was
Plus
18
a
feet, now
porch.
it's 10 feet.
and then there was a hot tub in there at one point.
Yeah,
And they've been all over the map.
I hate seeing that kind of thing torn down.
Have you looked at that thing?
I have looked at it, but I was gonna say, but given the current condition of it, I mean, there's nothing you can do with it. It's gone.
So Lena has said that the building has almost halved over time. And she's gonna continue to type and I'm gonna read for her.
What does that mean?
I'm waiting for her to,
I think it means it's half the size of.
Yeah.
It was.
A 2-car garage, they've made it into a 1-car garage, then they added a porch.
yeah, and Michael has said the dimensions have changed drastically. Lena has said from the surveys in 1972, 1982, and 2002, the garage used to be 20 feet wide. Now it is 10 feet wide.
So what was originally a historic structure, I mean, it's
Over time.
you know, but it's no longer the same structure.
No.
It's been modified and remodified.
And when it got doctored in 92 or whatever, the commission wasn't existing, right? So it was before that, and so they went ahead and did it. Well, no, Joe, when you called me, I went over and I looked at it sometime back, I guess a
Mhm.
couple of months ago. right?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So where did that leave us? I mean, it's not the historic structure it once was.
So I think it's, do you consider it contributing? Yes or no? And if you do, then it is, you need to schedule a public hearing for May. Lena also has said, looking at the pictures, it has no historical significance. And Michael has said he did not believe it was contributing. And if I got that wrong, Michael, please let me know.
What does Brian say?
I'm waiting for Brian to, let me check.
I'm so glad we don't have to do what you're doing right now.
And,
Michael is verifying that he does not believe it's contributing. Not sure who's calling. Or at least it is no longer contributing is Michael's comments. So I think somebody could make a motion to say that it is no longer contributing, and then you can vote on it and see how it works out. And if the motion fails, Michael is making a motion. I'm guessing, and Brian was the one calling me. So I'm guessing, Michael, if you can please type in the chat that you are making a motion to determine that the building is no longer contributing. And then I will ask for a second.
This is all hearsay, you realize that.
Actually, it's in writing and the chat actually gets recorded.
I can work a printer if you want a printer.
Because Brian's just saying, and as I've said, if you do determine it to be contributing, of course, we'd schedule a public hearing, but I've got, yeah, and if it's not contributing, then you can proceed tonight. So I think if somebody wants to verbalize Michael's motion that he's stating that it is no longer a contributing factor, so you can move forward.
Can I second Michael's motion?
If you just want to say yes to what I said and that's your motion, somebody seconds that.
Yes.
Okay, somebody want to second the motion that it is per Michael's statement that it is no longer a contributing structure.
I second the motion.
Okay, and now you can vote, and then of course you'll need to do a roll
Okay.
call, please.
All right. Okay, so does, so we have a motion on the table that this structure that was once contributing is no longer contributing because of all the alterations and modifications that have happened to it over the period of time. And so we have a second. So any discussion? All those in favor?
She wants a roll call.
Oh,
No, you can vote and then, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we'll do roll call. So,
So that's two votes for the same motion.
No, you voted and now you're just giving the reasons as to why you voted, and Michael is because that it is a threat and because it adversely affects health and safety of the city. So he's voting, and that is his reasoning.
Everybody, you know, like how everybody wrote, so.
okay.
So if that's the
So-
reasonings you want to, everybody wants to use.
Okay, given the fact that only half of it exists, the contributing structure, half of it exists, we could declare it not contributing at this point. I hate tearing down old buildings, but since half of it has already been demolished, I think we're on solid ground to put it in the non-contributing category here. And since it is a safety factor at this point in the game, I do think we need to, I'd like to see some of the materials in it used for the new, but given what they're doing for the new, you can't do that. So given that, I would approve that we demolish it.
And I agree for everything that's already been stated. It's non-contributing.
And I agree also with what you just said.
Joe agrees, everything else.
Okay, yes, I too agree. And there was also a section in here, and I think Michael referenced it, is the fact that it is a safety and health issue. I think they have a reoccurrence of ants or something else.
Please.
And that they've been unable to control and get rid of them, that they reappear every year. So that's, I mean, the Board of Health might have closed them down. you know.
Black plague.
So anyway, so the motion carries.
Okay, and then Brian has verified, so you've voted that it is not a contributing structure, so now you can vote that it's okay to demolish the non-contributing structure, and then you can discuss the new.
Oh my goodness.
You already voted to, I thought we were demolition, that was the first thing. we
No,
did.
No,
No.
What was the first vote?
you've only had one vote on this application, and this application, what you just voted on was to determine that it is no longer contributing factor. So now you need to vote that it's okay to demo a non-contributing building.
I apologize.
That's okay.
All right.
It's a goofy night.
Okay, so now motion, Joe, why don't you give us a motion?
Yeah. Come on.
To allow for the demolition of a non-contributing factor at non-contributing structure at 358 Chestnut Street.
Yes,
So moved.
so moved.
I just need a second.
Okay, and do we need a roll call on this too?
I'm gonna say no on this one. Or you can just reference your reasons that it was no longer a contributing factor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right,
And Michael is in favor as well.
Good.
Good.
All right.
okay, so now, congratulations, Lena and Aaron, for actually moving forward here. So now, the application for the new structure, and this is interesting, because the new structure will really not be in public view.
Correct. It's a very slim area that would be in public view that for tonight.
I mean, I think.
Sounds good.
If you, so you have an option of reviewing it or making the determination that it's not in public view and you don't need to review it. You've got a couple of options there. I'm not saying which ones, whatever, it's up to you guys, however you want to, but you have a couple of different options.
I'm just looking for where the stuff is about the moving.
Keep going back.
Yeah, all the drawings and stuff in the back.
This is still all old stuff, old stuff. Oh, here we go.
Oh, so Michael is now trying to make a motion that it is not in public view.
I second.
Okay,
Okay,
So now we have.
so now you can discuss it.
okay, the only thing I would like to find out, because this is something that I think is important, whether it's in public view or not, is that the materials and the colors are consistent with the primary structure.
So Lena, can you type in if the colors And the materials are gonna be consistent with the existing structure, please. Yes, we plan to make it compatible with the original building, and that is from Lena.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And that really was my only comment. I couldn't quite tell. The print was so small, on the drawings.
Understand.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
What's the foundation? What's the foundation on
You can ask her.
it? Can you tell me what the foundation, is it gonna be on skids or is it gonna be concrete or what's it gonna be?
That's both the screen
Pillars,
porch
brick
and the
pillars.
new shed.
Concrete and brick pillars.
I don't, I have a bigger drawing here for you.
Pillars, base.
She's-
Yeah, she's gonna write it, okay. just
She's, I
in
think,
case.
but yeah, if you can
Yeah.
look, and then concrete pillars faced with brick
Similar to
is what she has said will be the foundation.
Yeah, it's detailed out in the package we got.
Bring in the drawing.
Similar to the porch on the front. Michael says perfect.
Okay, now the shed though is not. The shed is a factory shed.
And that's what I was asking about.
And
That's gonna be
that's,
dropped there and what is it gonna be on?
And then they have to assemble it too, I think. And it doesn't include something.
That would be on what?
Saying
Sorry,
that's gonna be on
what's-
concrete, the shed's gonna be on concrete.
No, it's just typing.
But my question is, if this is not in public view,
Then it's not
It
actually
doesn't matter.
something for you
I
to,
know,
yep.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I know.
And then there is a motion on, so I know you're still in discussion, but don't forget, there's been a motion and seconded.
Mhm.
And Michael is repeating, not in public view.
Mhm. Well, I wondered how, she was gonna match it's a factory made shed. And she said the materials and colors will all match the house.
So certain companies actually can do that.
No.
I know there are HOAs that require the shed match the house, and so it can be done, even from the factory.
All right. So anybody have any questions? All right, then I guess we don't have to do any voting because it's not in
we
public
have
view.
to vote.
You need to vote that it's not in public view, and if
Therefore,
you,
we won't review it.
yes,
Okay. I mean, we can review it, but we're not going to.
Well, we're deciding not to.
We're deciding not
The motion is
We just
not
had
review.
conversation.
you were just asking general questions to make sure that how you vote, that there is no concern because it's not in public view,
Okay.
is what I've heard from, based on the conversation tonight.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion to, and seconded that it's not in public view and we're not going to review it.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And do we need a roll call for that too?
Let's just do it just to be safe.
Okay, I vote because it's not in public view.
I concur with all comments previously regarding this matter.
Okay, I too vote in favor of the motion that it's not in public view and therefore we're not reviewing it.
I agree.
I agree, no public view.
And Michael says aye, and ditto, and Lena says thank you so much.
Okay, congratulations, Lena. Sorry we were seeing you and having you here tonight, but it was a very impressive presentation. It was very clear. Okay. Where are we?
C4.
We are
Highway.
Kings Highway. We have anyone here? Kings Highway? Okay, you fell asleep, right? Easy to do.
Confusing, but it's.
I know, it's like who's on first, right?
I know that routine. Okay, basically,
Oh, your name and address?
my name is Tom Sweeney. I'm representing John Farmer,
Yeah.
516 Kings Highway. He has a medical issue. He's not here tonight. Okay. Essentially, he wants to replace or reproduce the shed building that was on the property, at the end of the driveway, bottom line. It looked like he built in contemporary materials. And the original shed was built on the ground, so it rotted away. I mean, you heard this earlier, and Joe has seen Anyway, it's gone. So we'd like to reproduce it.
Yeah, so this structure actually collapsed in the snow.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a contributing structure, however, it collapsed in the snow, so we had to, and I informed all of you that we had to issue an emergency demolition permit for it because it was actually creating it was a safety issue.
And where one person had problem with fleas, we had problem with vultures.
Oh.
I'd rather have fleas.
So is any part of it standing?
The end gable is standing.
Okay, which you can see from the street.
No,
No?
Oh,
no,
yes, you can.
the back end gable?
Yeah, you can see it from the street because. the
Right, but when
front
you
is gone.
rebuild it, you will not be able to
But-
see. Yeah,
We're gonna leave it there because there is a lean-to shed that is attached to that.
Okay,
So the new building,
it's gonna be right in front of that.
right in front of it, attached to it.
So you're
It's
building,
going to be the same pitch on the roof, 712 pitch, same width, same everything, same color. The other factor is there's a swimming pool in the backyard, and with this 12 by 20 shed missing, now there's access to the swimming pool for everyone. So we have a temporary fence around that.
Oh, right, yeah.
so you're rebuilding 3 walls and keeping the back wall. Is that correct?
Building 4 walls and keeping the back walls. 5 walls. 5 walls, I know, it sounds confusing.
Oh, that's because
The old wall, the remaining wall supports the lean-to shed,
mhm.
which was built probably in the 50s or 60s, I'm not sure which.
It's the side, it's the wall that has the smiley face on it.
Smiley.
Yeah, somebody, there's a smiley face, there's some graffiti on the inside of this building. And I think that's the back wall, that's with the former,
Scoot up.
That's the graffiti wall.
that's the interior side of the back wall of the
Oh, okay.
lean-to.
Actually, no.
No? Okay,
You are looking towards Kings Highway. Can you hear me?
I need you back at the mic.
So that is gone.
From the alley.
That was taken, I think Joe took that.
Yeah.
That was taken from inside the building that's looking towards Kings Highway. That is gone.
Oh, okay.
Smiley, that's why you're confused. huh?
Sorry,
Yeah, there's one that's in there in your package now. It's covered with the blue swimming pool. Looks like a tarp with the wall.
Yeah.
You'll see the structure. That's the one that's standing there now.
like the one that stays.
Looks just like that, except the smiley face.
Some people would claim this is skylight. Okay.
If I can get a new building, then I'll claim that.
no,
I was having trouble understanding. This is a 4-sided building.
Yes,
Well, before when I said, so you're rebuilding 3 sides, you added, there was more than that.
actually, that end will be a double wall. I'm going to keep the original, but we would like to go, we prefer to go with a factory made or
Oh,
manufactured.
okay.
Now I understand.
So you're just gonna butt it to that.
It's the same building.
You
Yeah,
have a
flashing.
double, we have a double wall in the back.
That's to support.
Right, it supports the existing shed.
So you're
Which
gonna
is-
extend the
was built as a dog shed years ago.
You mentioned a pump house. Is this where the pump is?
This is
located
where
for
the pump
pool?
for the pool is located,
That's in the.
in the lean-to. Right.
Where the
Which
new
is
building-
10 by 8. and
Yes.
The original was 12 by
The
1.
new building be connected to that. The new building will be connected to that.
Right.
One more.
Right.
Like nails into it, connected. Okay.
Does Michael have anything to say?
not at the moment.
Oh.
When he does, I will pass it
Okay,
along.
'cause I spoke to him today and he sent me some information which I printed out. So I could show you.
Okay, now I have comments from Michael. Demonstrates compatibility to the architectural features of the original structure and house and the surrounding neighborhood. Only comment would be the possibility of incorporating front doors which are a little more reflective to 1920s, 1930 garages.
And so he sent me 2 things from sort of Sears catalog. And Sears, you know, the Sears houses.
Yeah, I'm old, I'm familiar.
Yeah, and so, so anyway, so you've got on your side door, you've got a similar pattern on the bottom.
So on
Of the door?
On the side door is like a barn style,
Yeah, and so,
which is not visible from the street.
no, but he was just saying that would be a age appropriate to the house. And so,
Okay, I can.
and so
I can have a
these are
picture,
two
yeah.
things, these are for you. These are. And I don't know if Michael wants to comment on that. And he was. Because your garage doors, I'm not clear, because this one drawing, the garage doors are perfectly plain. And then this,
Oh,
this,
that's the updated version.
the yellow one.
Yeah, that's what it, we had planned on it being.
Okay. So that's kind of in the same feel as,
We thought you weren't going to be that picky about the doors because it is 100 feet off the street.
but I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes, I can.
we told them and they provided an updated door.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Yeah, which is this one, right?
Yeah.
Right, yes, ma'am.
So
Which is
anyway,
more like these.
Yeah, and Michael says the original garage per the survey states it was built in the 1920s and the 1930.
okay. So we don't, anybody have any other questions? Wanna see this? This is the- yeah, these are the two series. Michael is a wealth of information. He has a library of that, that's about everything, I think.
So he's making a motion to approve. If I could get somebody to. So Joe is now making that motion to approve, just so I get it, and can you just say your motion?
Either that or a peace sign.
Well, Michael, I will second your motion if that's what you're doing.
No, you have to say.
If I can get you to make the motion, because it's in writing, so you can, and then
How about, yeah, maybe
he's just made a motion to approve, and I just would prefer it be verbal. I know it's written and I have it for the record. I would just prefer, if that's okay. Just a
I'm
little bit
repeating
cleaner.
Michael's motion that because this application concerns a property that is contributing, but gone. And uses previously approved materials, conforms with the rhythm and scale and requirements, and is in the Lewis Historic District. I move that the application be approved as submitted.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? Oh, late, but, okay.
I'm
And-
gonna guess Brian will want a roll call vote.
I think so.
And I think what you can do, and Michael voted aye, is if you just want to repeat the reasons in Mr. Thomason's motion.
It was Michael's motion.
Michael's motion that, yeah.
All right, well, because, you know, I voted yes, or Michael voted yes, because the, uses previously approved materials and conforms to the rhythm and scale, and the requirements, and, God bless you.
And, okay, Bill?
And I certainly appreciate the fact that they're trying to mimic what was there. And that's what we're trying to do, preserve everything to look like it used to do. So since you're trying to do that, and you're using the materials that were like those in the past, I approve as well.
Thank you, Joe, Bill?
Yeah, I appreciate the effort to mimic what was there, and so I vote to approve.
For all the previous reasons stated, I approve too. Thank you.
Yeah, I too approve and thank the owner for his efforts
When he
and.
feels better, he'll thank you.
Okay, good.
And
Yes, and I think the touches, the nice touches in that last submission of the
Okay.
slightly colored rendering.
Yeah.
Very
We
nice.
should thank Joe for that.
Okay.
and Michael concurs with all the previous comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And, all right, anybody need a break or a drink of water? No?
I came prepared.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there bottled water available? No.
No, but we can get you a cup of water if you need it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah,
real
we've got
fast.
the water fountain.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick.
Yeah, the cups in the
the
room
break
and then, yeah.
Anybody else need one? Carolyn, anybody get one?
Yeah, I'm still not comfortable with water fountains.
Understand. He's gonna get you a glass and we're gonna get it out of our water cooler. So,
I drink at home because it's cheap and I won't catch anything.
ours comes out of a water cooler, so
I appreciate it.
And it's not a fountain.
it's not the fountain.
Nancy,
With those blue bottles filled with
Yes.
BCPs or something in there, of the plastic, yeah. Natural sprinkler. We've,
Oh, snacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Was just time for one.
I could give it- Oh, somebody else might want it.
Okay.
No?
No, well, no, thank you.
Okay, you own something.
No.
One.
It's a glass of wine and a lifesaver.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
good, thank you very
But
much.
this like.
Is it red wine?
No, it's wine, it's sliced.
Glass of wine and a lifesaver.
Okay, so if you wanna keep going and Joe will be back with your glass of water.
All right, so this is C5. Our last applicant, thank you for your patience.
Boy.
Presentation possible action on H-12-22 on behalf of Timeless Finds LLC, Michael Finkel, for renovations to the exterior of an existing house contributing. The project consists of new windows, siding, and roof. Property is located at 126 Franklin Street, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.12-16.00R-4H. And we have a nice packet, very detailed packet of information, which we appreciate as always. And I think you've covered just about everything.
Try.
So is there, I mean, I don't think it's necessary for you to go over all of it, unless there's, because I think everybody has read it. So is there anything
I have some questions.
overall?
If he can just introduce himself for the record,
I'm
please.
sorry, your name and address.
Mike Finkel, 37519 Oyster House Road, Rehoboth Beach.
Oh, okay. And do you have anything else you would like to add to this submission?
Well, I mean, thank you guys for having me, first off. We're really excited about this property. I specialize in historic restoration, founder of the Mainline Estate Company. We pretty much help people dealing with estates to help liquidate. And then we have a group of investors that purchase as well. And this was one that I personally purchased because after learning some of the history, I was a total geek over it. So I knew I had to have it. Through the owner, we actually found out that it was one of the previous Lewis National Banks. He had a photo, and after, through my own eye, distinctly with the position of the windows, you can tell that it was truly this building, which is on the first page or the second page of one of your packets.
Yeah, I saw the photograph and then I saw your Facebook posting.
Oh, cool.
And then I tried to figure out how to print the information, I couldn't print it off the Facebook. So I was kind of hoping it was in your packet, but it's not.
Oh, right. So that was an article.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was pretty much stating that Captain J.N. Bartlett
Okay.
was once at that address, and we found through the Historical Society that his daughters lived there. So we kind of coincided that it was passed down from him to his daughters.
Oh, okay.
And he seemed like a fairly prolific member of Lewis Society, both being a sea captain and a local treasure hunter. His claim to fame was knowing the exact spot of the DeBrack ship, I believe it was.
DeBrock.
That sank in one of those canals. So it's, once I figured everything out, I was like, okay, throw the budget out the window. And I'm happy I did, because the budget went out a long time ago.
Yeah, well, that's You know, old houses are like boats, you know, they're just a bottomless pit for money.
Right, and no wall is completely straight.
No, never.
I have some money from this bank.
Oh, wow.
No, he really does. He
Yeah.
really has.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I've collected.
Frame a coin or something?
No, I got $5 or $10 bills.
Wow,
That's
that's
what I
great.
look at, yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
But I never knew it was over on Franklin.
Yeah,
It's
so
demolished.
I guess
Yeah,
you
you
moved
need to get
from Second Street at one point.
Do you know where on Second Street?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was, by this photo, I was trying to look at the corresponding buildings and get something, but
Yeah, it's kind of, it looks like, yeah,
I was looking.
because
So,
they could have been gone by now, you know.
yeah, right, that's true.
Mhm.
I was, you know, I walk my puppy pretty much every day on Second Street. So I'm like, you know, looking at the buildings.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, well, you know, you've done a tremendous amount of work. There's, our charge is, you know, what our guidelines and the ordinance says is that we're to protect and preserve the historic structures.
Right.
And so that, and we refer back to the Secretary of Interior's listings as well. And then we also have it in our guidelines. And so so transforming it into a different structure than it ever was doesn't follow our guidelines and code.
Right.
Now, in a perfect world, if you wanted to take it back to have it look like the bank, I mean, that would be pure preservation.
Right.
Now, you don't have to do that,
Okay.
but that would be true preservation. You are
Yeah,
preserving the actual history of that structure.
Right.
So the next thing, you know, and I need to read this to you because it's important. Because what we do is,
Well, I really don't have that chapter memorized.
you would think I would,
Yeah, it
wouldn't
was.
you? You wouldn't you?
Chapter and verse, like.
Yeah, just about. Well, I'll read it from here. Got it all over the place. Let's see, I'll just read a couple of these. So, and this is the standards for rehabilitation from the Secretary of Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties. And you can just Google that and you can get volumes and information. So a property will be used as it was historically or be given a new use that requires minimal change to its distinctive materials, features, spaces, and spatial relationships. The historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alterations of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. Each property will be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or elements from other historic properties, will not be undertaken. Changes to a property that have acquired historic significance in their own right will be retained and preserved. And what that really means is a house that, and houses in Lewis have gone through different period changes, you know, and, you know, it's been built pre-Victorian, but then Victorian became the rage. And so they started to add the little gingerbread stuff. So those owners, you know, both periods are periods of significance. They can either take it back to something it was, or they can retain something that is, but they can't create something that wasn't.
Right.
And there is the key thing. So, you know, and then it goes on to some other details, but I think that's kind of the gist of where we are and what our charge is. So when you talk about adding different kinds of columns or different materials that were never there, were never part of the house, a structure like that, it's in conflict with what our guidelines are.
Okay, so that would include the square columns.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Victorian railings.
Well, so if we refer to page 2 of the Lewis National Bank, it is square columns with Victorian rail. I'm sorry, in the packet titled 126 Franklin Ave.
Yes,
exterior
got it.
plans.
That looks like this.
Yeah, page 2 should be
It's the picture.
the picture. Correct.
Yes.
So that's what we're essentially trying to recreate.
Oh, your columns though these are basically square posts from what I can tell. And your suggested columns were much more. Here, your columns were very decorative with all those indents.
Right, so the additional raising.
Yeah, that's different. That's a
Okay.
different character, a different style, a different period.
So we're definitely fine to revise that portion if that would be.
Well,
accepted.
that's one of the ones.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, some of your notes, it appears that you're still in the process of maybe pricing them or seeing what's feasible or something else. Because you're gonna read, on the same first page.
Right.
Just gonna do a couple pages at a time.
Sure.
So remove the vinyl. Number 1. Is that vinyl siding?
Right currently there is siding.
Okay.
And in one of your packets, there should be some pictures of the structure, how it is right now.
Mhm. Okay, so of course, that's fine.
Right.
And I think somewhere in here, you're also talking about putting cedar shakes on.
So cedar shake around the entirety of the building, except for the back portion of the building that is not facing the street.
Okay, which are later additions that are attached. Is that the part you're talking about?
No, just the existing structure. We're not changing the structure at all. So what we found with the space that had the original porch attached, there are still the original cedar shake siding on that.
Okay.
And underneath, right now, it's kind of like a yellow paint.
Mhm.
So underneath that, some of the paint is chipping, and we saw that it's kind of a really oyster gray from the natural aging.
Oh.
So what I found online after some extensive research, and
Mhm.
apparently none of the builders have oyster gray natural cedar shake, but Amazon does.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So I found that, and it seemed to be the most like the original shake that you could still access the building.
Hmm.
Because the original shake around the other walls, it's no longer accessible and it's no longer feasible from an insulation standpoint
Mhm.
because it's the cedar shake and then you got your old boards.
Yeah.
So.
So, and it's real cedar shakes?
It's real cedar shake, so I can,
Yeah. So I guess you could order a sample or something to be sure.
yeah, so on that same packet,
Mhm. It says place natural cedar shake siding, which has a aged gray finish. The gray finish will match the original cedar shake on the porch side of the home, west facing walls, which has a naturally aged gray finish. The shake will have 14-inch exposure to mimic the original. Picture the material used below. More on the west wall later. Which means,
further down the packet.
okay, the same natural wood cedar shake will be used for the corresponding exterior walls. So does that mean all the sides of the rectangle that's closest to the road? Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about, this whole rectangle,
Correct, and also the,
2 sides?
yeah, the right facing wall. The porch wall is the original, which we're gonna keep.
Okay,
And then the whole addition, which is currently vinyl, we want to replace with also the natural cedar shake.
okay, and that's the newer construction that was done much later.
Right, and it's just really, from my standpoint, from a street view, the addition is an eyesore right now.
Yeah.
So we want to blend it and make it look as close as possible to that original shape that's on the porch.
Okay, so basically, all the exterior walls will become the cedar shakes. There either be existing old cedar shakes or there'll be new cedar shakes,
Correct,
everything. Okay,
yeah, so just that one wall has the existing cedar shake, and the rest we're gonna do with natural cedar shake, but it would be,
okay.
Will you be replacing the shutters, putting them back?
So right now they're vinyl shutters, and we want to remove those and mimic some of the homes on the same block of Franklin Ave, which just has your traditional window surround. So no, we
No
don't plan on
shutters.
replacing them because they're vinyl right now.
But in these renderings, it looks like you have shutters.
Correct, that was a mistake from the architect.
Okay,
Basically, I called him and
so, yeah, so there won't be any shutters.
correct,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
He was like, Mike, there's no way I'm getting you full 100% plans of time. So,
Yeah, okay.
Is this cedar shape gonna be like shakes by shakes by shakes, or is it gonna be panels of 6 at a time and the flat?
It's gonna be shake by shake.
Good.
So my
I like,
my builders and my guys, I told them, I'm buying you lunch, I'm buying you dinner. We got it done.
So they may be vinyl now, but were they wood originally?
What?
Yes,
yeah,
on the
would have been
one wall, he's uncovered
the shutters.
cedar shake.
I know.
You're referring to the shutters,
Shutters.
correct?
Oh,
So
Oh.
referring back to the picture on page 2, from the windows that I can see in except to the bottom right, there were no shutters. So it looks like one had shutters and the rest did not.
Did you consider putting shutters on?
Yeah, I don't see
I
that
mean,
being a problem.
that's, rehab right.
Right. So
Yeah,
what-
but you see, there were probably no shutters on that house originally, the structure originally. Somebody added them later.
Really?
Yeah, because you look at that picture, I don't think there's any shutters on the back, on the bank.
I didn't see any, and
Yeah, this is
especially
the original structure.
Okay.
when you're talking about, but when you're talking about the
Maybe
rhythm,
that picture shows no shutters, but originally they probably were shutters.
well,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't appear so, but given that, if you're talking about the rhythm and scale of the street,
But you have to be true to the house.
true to the house, but from what I'm looking at, there's no shutters on there.
Michael said there are paneled shutters on the
Right, first floor.
bank building.
Really? How can you see that in the picture?
Top floor,
Top floor, yeah.
No.
top floor is that,
They're closed.
No, are they
No.
closed?
They're closed.
I think those are shutters in a closed position.
I don't see it.
Can you get a clearer picture of this?
I
That's
doubt
the
it.
clear side.
Oh, here. Mine's clearer than yours is.
closed and yes is what Michael said.
People have color.
And I have color.
A foggy day here.
Yeah, I do too.
I will share.
I can't.
This was kind of clear. They wanted this one.
Second floor.
This one's good. That one's good.
I agree with Mike.
Good job.
I think there's closed shutters and they're also on the
Yeah.
second floor, they're louvered, which is very commonly done.
Done, that's right.
The second floor would be
That's
louvered and the
exactly-
first floor would not.
Right.
That's right.
And that's, you can see that on the second floor.
All right,
We're on the same page.
So,
we are now.
And he said second floor left is the clearest. Yes, it is. That, yeah.
We're all in agreement. Let's move on.
okay. So now, the only thing that happens is that Franklin Street side will not allow you to put shutters on those that first floor windows. Because you're not gonna be able to fit 2 shutters in that small space. That's why they're not there now.
Right, so we plan on just removing those and having the original, well, maybe not original, but the intuitive surrounds corresponding to the other homes on the block.
Okay, all right, so all exterior walls are gonna be cedar.
But on those windows, you're replacing the windows on the Franklin side.
You're replacing all the windows, aren't you?
Replacing all of them. So
We're not replacing them.
you're not replacing it?
They're vinyl and they have pop-out grills. It's about as unhistoric preservation as you can get.
Also count the windows. Count the windows on the one, it shows there's more. Right here, it's 1, 2, 3, 12 over 12s, right?
But they're pop-ins, they're not
Yeah, I
real.
know they are. They're not real. You're
No,
right. I
They're
agree
not
with you.
original.
I agree, but in looking at the new design, what I guess I'm getting at is for the windows, that you were talking about shutters and you can't get them on there because, but if you were to actually, since you're putting new ones in, you move it over just a tad, because see, they don't line up with the ones that are up on the second level. if you line them up, now you can put the shutters in.
Mhm.
That's just what
You
I'm trying to
could.
get at. I'm
Yeah.
gonna slow down.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean, that, I mean, like the windows are really important, and you may have to do this in stages or back off, but you ought to do the windows before you do the siding.
Okay, so
And they're, you know, they're inexpensive, according to the write-up. Vinyl windows with pop out contains vinyl window frames, which we do not approve. Now, I mean, they're there, but you know, if you were gonna want to put them in now, we would not approve a vinyl window.
well, that's why we wanted to hold off on those and just not touch them for now.
And they're also have a vinyl trim surround.
Which we would be replacing.
So you're gonna keep the windows, but you're gonna put in a wood surround.
So from what I was told from my builder, at any point from the inside, we are able to replace the windows.
You'll pop them out from the inside.
Right. So he said, you know, if there's any room to save a little bit on this home, wait on the windows.
Mm.
So that was the thought for the windows.
Yeah. Well, you know, as long as you can do it down the road, it does it kind of means that, so what are you gonna do as far as realigning the two lower ones with the upper ones, so you can put shutters on that wall?
So on the street facing wall, we didn't intend to put any shutters.
No shutters on that wall,
'Cause
okay.
From measurements of the actual building, we do see that inside of the bottom two windows is too thin to have.
Yeah, what Bill was, you know, what Bill was saying is if you're gonna do the siding and the windows now, then you could actually move those over, you know, till they line up.
And we,
Maybe you just do those two windows.
Since you're doing the siding, wouldn't you want to do the windows since you're doing the siding now? But I'm just thinking for that.
Yeah, Bill's done a ton of restoration.
yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. He said it would be easier if we did it now,
Mhm.
but I mean,
Yeah, he's right.
talking at least like 500 per window.
Maybe you could
$30.
just do this, the street side.
That's true, yeah,
Do the street side with the new windows.
yeah.
And then, you know, because that won't be as noticeable if when you replace
be
the
a-
other windows, you know, and it messes up the siding a little bit or something, you won't see it. as
You're gonna
much.
save a lot more by doing that now.
Yeah, so I know, the other concern was on either side of them from the interior, you have original wall studs. So we would prefer not to move them. Because that is a structural wall.
The studs are not structural.
Well, like today's studs aren't structural, but if you look at the actual studs that are in there, I mean, they're like really heavy.
Do you have it all, do you have all the wall gone? The plaster walls all been removed?
Yeah, at that room, it was replaced at one point.
You're down to the bare in there, it's the time to do it.
Right. Yes, we're down on the walls there.
Okay, so I'm reading from Michael. Documentation states house was moved to Franklin in mid-1950s. The basic structure is federal style building and not Victorian. Let me scroll down. Use of fish scale shingles in gable and ornate decorative trim as proposed creates a false sense of historical development, as Barbara mentioned, as it relates to the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of the historic properties, and he meant 1850s.
Yeah, because with the fish scale, you're dealing Victorian versus federal. So there's, you know.
Yeah, I'm just-
Between the two.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Read.
agree with that statement. And I wish you had put all of the information on a drawing, you know, all we have is your verbal. And the paragraph in your submission that I read, it sounded like, you know, you were 100% into historic preservation, and you're not.
Well, so our mix is preservation, but usually in a fashion where it mixes being able to have materials that are gonna last and, you know, appeal to today's buyer. But, you know, exact period restorations are where we stray slightly. But, we try to, especially this one, we're gaining information,
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think the Victorian, we would not approve Victorian
Right.
items because it creates a false sense of period for this structure.
Right.
And so that's in our guidelines, and I can read it again, but, and so we, our charge is to support the preservation or the restoration or the rehabilitation
right,
of the true period of a structure.
The
And-
history of that
and-
period.
And so not something that's been conjured up, in this house, this structure has, to our knowledge, to what's here, that was never a true Victorian structure. So when you do the fish scales and when you do other ornate things,
right.
I think there's a whole section on some of the materials that, you've got, like the scallop pattern, and that's what Michael was just talking about.
Understood.
So that you should nix that. And then you've got, on page 5, so, I have no problem with removing those shutters on Federal because they don't fit.
Right.
And I'm not really sure why those 2 windows on the ground floor are so much larger and, pushed together. There's a story there, but I don't know what it is, and I don't really know what to do to rectify it other than, do Federal, if you can possibly replace the windows for the proper windows. On Federal, at least the streetscape will be greatly improved. And if you can slide those 2 windows over, so if you want to put shutters, you can, you'll have,
Great.
and I don't think, the modification of those 2 studs is not a historic preservation issue.
Okay.
With everything else that you're doing.
All right, great.
Yeah, so that's, and then you had, we talked about, you're gonna wrap the white columns with the tapered raised panel. That does not fit either with this structure.
So in summary, we could pretty much revise to get as exact as possible to the original.
Yes, and follow that as your pattern,
Right.
because that has the simplicity of that original structure. And forget anything that's Victorian,
So,
and the black porcelain marble-like tile materials for sidewalks and patios in this town are primarily brick
right, okay,
or wood.
right,
So you have to stay with the same character of the period of the town,
okay,
which is,
Right.
brick and wood. And, the checker tile, doesn't,
Victorian.
it's just, you're getting sucked into materials that appeal to you. It's,
The styles in architecture were pure in cities like in Philadelphia. By the time the style got down here to Lewis, it wasn't pure. And it was, and the designer, even if there was an architect, it wasn't pure Victorian. So it seems out of place to have something that's very ornate. If you were doing Victorian here, that was very ornate when it really wasn't, never.
Understood, okay.
Yeah, we're just,
So,
so basically you've got to, come back to being as true to the house, the
Right.
historic structure, which you're very fortunate to have there, and just build on that.
right,
And and then there's suggestions, because you already have approval to put back the diamond window.
right,
And so your suggestion of that very decorative photograph on a neighboring house, it's, I guess, in here somewhere. I mean, that just would be, that's all Victorian.
yeah, right,
Yeah, so
understood.
you've got to do away with that. Let me just fill everybody in. So this project started out, I wasn't really sure where it was going. And so the first request came in that when you got into gutting the interior, you found that there was a chimney there, but there was no chimney on the roof. So a
Right.
previous owner had taken off the roof chimney. So the first request was a chair and staff to put the chimney back. Made perfect sense. And then as you're doing more work, the double hung window that's up on the third floor in the attic, it turned out that the framing, the old wood framing in that same space was for a diamond window. So you requested to have that put back.
Yeah, so when we were going through it, we were exposing the original beams, and I talked to one of my guys, I was like, what is that? He was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, look at there, look at there. So these arrows are pointing to each triangle in the diamond.
Yeah.
So I said, oh man, we gotta replace it. We gotta
Yeah.
bring it back to the original.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of interesting because I don't know that that would have been in the original, do you think?
Right. I don't sound like it.
No, I don't think it would have
I
been in
don't
there.
think so.
So it somehow got in there in between when it was,
In between times.
yes, yeah, somebody said, oh, look, I got a diamond window, you want it? Yeah, sure. I mean, that happened around here. That's how a lot of the additions went on some of these old houses. You know, somebody said,
Right.
you know, I've got to build a bigger addition. My mother-in-law's come to visit, you know, to live with us, you know? You want this shed? Yeah, I'll take the shed. I don't, you know, that stuff happens like that.
Yeah, my addition to my old house came from the storm of 1888 on Lewis Beach and moved and connected to my house.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you know, stuff happens. So, you know, that diamond window, I mean,
Or a
Yeah.
porthole.
you know. we don't do-
No, so Michael actually thinks it was probably incorporated after it was moved and became a residence. And that seems to make sense. So that's what Michael thinks is what happened with the
Yeah,
diamond.
I think it's true. So, I mean, at this point, you know, the building's going to be a mix of different things because it had different lives. And it started out as a commercial bank and then it became a residence, and I assume it's always been a residence. But, you know, so it's, you know, gonna be, have different parts to it. So, you know, the diamond window, I'll just leave that up to you. If you wanna stay with the double hung up there, or you wanna put the diamond back, just don't make it too gutsy. I mean, don't jazz it up, just make it just simple. A simple.
Well, so on
I-
Washington, I'm sorry, guys.
In reading through your paragraph, I immediately saw a book I have called Respectful Rehabilitation, and it's put out by the National Trust for Historic Preservation.
Oh, great.
Do you have a copy of
I've
that?
heard of it. I
Oh,
don't have a copy
you
of
should get a copy of it. And another one is Rehab Right, which is put out by the City of Oakland Planning Department in California. And it's a good book to look at.
So Michael says the basic bones are federal
Right.
for the house.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
providing his info.
So, you know, and that's something that could always be your guideline. When in doubt, you know, go back and to the basic bones of the house, you know, and not try and go in different directions.
Okay.
You know, I also had a question mark here for the double French doors on the upper deck. I'm not sure about French doors on that upper deck. It sounds a little,
Oh, and he also has a book, Restoring Your Historic House by Scott Hansen. It's a great reference book for.
is that the one, Michael, is that the one that we bought for each of the commissioners?
Yes,
That's
Okay.
another book. that I-
that is, he said yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I wrote that title down too, but I thought I had too many, so.
Piggybacked up for you.
Yeah, so the,
Got it.
anyway, so I think we've covered a lot of the stuff, and my preference is, and then of course the driveway with white pebble stone and antique brick border. You know, just keep it simple.
Right.
You know, just, you know, it's, you know, the less is, this is gonna one of the jobs, I think, that less is more,
Yeah, definitely.
you know. And so I think, instead of us trying to come up with a motion where we okayed some things and didn't okay others, I would rather you go back
Yeah.
and try and reformulate this, and, you know, we can have a informal meeting with Joe, Janelle, or maybe one or two of the other commissioners, just to kind of, as you know, make these different steps. You know, we've done that in the past.
Right, okay.
So would you be interested in withdrawing this current application?
Thank you.
Barbara, I have just 2 cents worth there.
Sure.
On the bottom of page 11, you start a sentence, says, I plan to be a great contributor to the Lewis Historical Society when I can be informed of. This is not the Lewis Historical Society.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Okay, dealing apples and oranges here, so
Right,
just,
gotcha.
you know, we don't care what you do
Yeah.
with that. We don't want to know. So just,
Yeah, but if you're wanting to invest some money, we would like to have a workshop funded for.
Once I refinance all of this.
you're fortunate to have a federal though, because they're
Yeah.
original homes to our area.
Right.
The Victorians came later in the 1880s to 20. To have a federal and design this to a federal, you got a special home.
Right, yeah, thank you.
You know, you really do.
So I did have a couple of follow-up questions.
Sure,
basically.
sure.
So, with the original photo, the railing on the Lewis National Bank,
You mean upstairs on the second floor?
it's probably grainy in your,
Oh, on the original bank.
So,
Oh, you have the best.
Yeah,
version.
that's one.
Yeah. I'll
Take
trade
that
you
back.
pictures. I'll trade you pictures.
Or you just keep it.
are you actually lifting the house to put this foundation underneath?
no, we're not.
They just actually had an engineer's report. And he just actually had that done. He just did the floor frame and everything. It was kind of like this, you would say, Mike. So I was glad to see he went that way and he fixed the foundation up from inside. So I was happy what he did with that.
So it's not block and brick, it's all brick or what?
The interior of the floor joists were all sinking in. The
Construction material,
yeah, the construction material was all sinking in.
but it's made of what?
It was wood
There you go.
that the engineer, so it was kind of, I would say it was kind of a mess. So he had an engineer's report that shored up the floor, structured wood floor, wood joists. So
Okay, so.
it is a brick foundation, correct? It is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so we're just gonna.
that's where I'm at.
repoint the joints and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so in the packet, what we would like to do is reface the existing brick, metal sheath, and then use antique brick from the old mill brick company, where they basically do a thin brick, but it's all antique brick. And they're
What does it look
pricey,
like?
but, so there's a picture in the packet.
He can provide that when he comes back with the new application.
I don't think, I think, you know, some of those things aren't really necessary. This wasn't a fancy, you know, this building would never have been a fancy building.
Right,
It
understood.
would have had very simple brick.
Pretty much all brick, subdue, square columns, raised panel shutters.
Well, I don't, it actually, I can't tell, I can't really see that there's shutters on the first floor. I just see the shutters on the second floor that are.
The closed shutters, right?
Closed with the windows. Yeah, I can't really look at it.
So since he's just asked for it to be withdrawn and you have offered to have a sit-down meeting with him, would you like to continue asking questions or move on to the next application? Because
I don't really have
This is
a-
it. Barbara, I do see shutters on that one window.
On the first
to the next item on the
On the
agenda,
right-hand side.
because he's agreed to withdraw the application, so.
I do see.
Okay, all right, so,
Did you have any more questions?
Now, that's pretty much it. You know, I'm gonna go back and.
yeah, I think
Shutters.
if you look at the railing here, it looks like a very simple, the spindle, almost
Square
could
spindle.
be square spindles, big fat base.
You mind if I show you my picture?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, oh, that's not.
To your note, it might have been added.
Can you make that bigger? Let me see that.
Here.
No.
Keep going bigger. There you go.
Oh, look at, is that decorative?
That looks Victorian to me, and that's kind of where the
That's,
basis.
that looks decorative.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Can you email that picture? So maybe
Well,
we
it's
can
the
get a,
same Picture, it's just that
Yeah,
on the
just
iPad, you're able
yeah.
to blow it up.
yeah, but if we can maybe get it electronically, you can then blow it up and
Yeah.
if we send it to you electronically.
Yeah, we could look at the windows and the railing and everything.
Fancy
And-
bang.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Do you think that could have been added or not? Well, that's the
Could have.
bench, that's the bench.
Just get the picture up. Mike.
Okay.
And then write-up too.
God,
If you could send the write-up that you had on your Facebook posting,
Yeah, sure.
because I can't seem to find it now. I read it.
Do you plan to put it back like that?
I'd like to. That's kind of where the Victorian influence starts.
Yeah, yeah, that surprises me. I mean, I just don't get that for that building.
Yeah.
And I think you don't have to, you could also make it very simple. But, yeah, that's just very weird. The look of that.
So maybe that's something more for the discussion when
Yeah.
we meet individually.
Right.
Yeah, it's most, I mean, you're welcome to come back next month if you want to just wait until then, so everybody can contribute something. I just offered that as an option.
Right,
If there were some things you just wanted to try and pin down.
So either way, we wouldn't get anything passed until next month.
Or,
Or is it possible to revise
yeah, well, we could, I mean, if you, I mean.
change that? Because that's the big problem here with this one.
I think the only thing anybody's agreed on is the cedar.
The cedar siding, the cedar siding, and we agreed that that you see that, and that originally there was not that upper deck area. I mean, that was, they made that into a Savannah house sometime later. And we've got a couple of them here, but I don't think it really, it's a follow. What's Michael say to that? Whether there should really be a second floor on that.
So I haven't seen anything yet, but again, he has agreed to withdraw it. So if the only thing I think you can right now make a decision on it would be the siding. Otherwise, he needs to come back next month or whenever. And I think in between, give Joe a call so we can schedule a meeting with Barbara to discuss.
Yeah, so, see if we can get something. Yeah, I think the cedar siding, and you're doing cedar roof shakes too?
So we're doing nothing to the roof.
Nothing to the roof, okay, so putting a chimney, okay. And then the other suggestion we had, recommendation we had, was that consider putting new windows on the street side. Just because that would really help, the streetscape, and you wouldn't have to do it later.
Okay.
Go with,
And try and move,
18 or 12 feet.
6/6 or 9/9.
All right.
To be
Yeah.
consistent with it, like up above, you've got 6/6 and down below right now.
yeah, but those are all pop-it.
Yeah, I know, they're 12.
Put in
over
later.
12. They
I'm
gotta
not
come
sure,
out.
what would have been on that same structure original?
So again, if you're good with withdrawing the application, I don't think they're gonna make a decision on anything tonight from what I've heard. And then you just give Joe a call, and the earliest we can get you back is May 5th.
Okay.
I think they would be 6/6 or 9/9.
But we can in between get you a meeting with Barbara and maybe another person in staff and try to
Okay.
solve some of the questions you have.
Is it possible that we vote on the cedar shake?
That is up to them.
Because
Yes.
from a logistics standpoint, 'cause if I order it now, it's gonna come in 2 months. If I wait a month, it's gonna be 3 months.
Yeah,
And
Nobody problem with that.
yeah, I don't have a problem with
since
that.
we're going shake by shake, it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't, yeah.
Yes, you need a motion.
You want included in it, new windows on,
So that's not part of the original application, correct?
So I think right now, all he wants a motion on in the determination is the cedar shake.
okay.
And then everything else will be come back for you for consideration.
Putting shades on now?
Because either that or you just need to withdraw this right now and wait 3 months.
Well, because he said he won't get them for 2 months.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, I'm following what you just said about.
And again, I think there's some work that needs to be, sounds like some discussions about windows that he's not ready for, and I'm not sure everybody's ready for, but the only thing I think everybody, from what I've heard, is everybody's okay with the cedar, and he'd like to know if he can move forward with ordering the cedar, and then he'll come back and discuss everything else.
Just look at federal buildings with the windows. And like on nine every time. Just look at that, that'll help you.
Yeah, I guess it was the red. Really.
And then, one, will the cedar shake replace the fish scale too, and will the cedar fill the gables, is a question from Michael.
Let's do all cedar shake.
All cedar shake.
All cedar shake, so I think if you want to move at anything, it would be just be a motion to approve the cedar as he has submitted it, I think.
Yes, cedar
For the entire,
building.
yep,
Square foot, not your scale.
Correct.
All right.
All right, just so move.
Okay.
And then just say,
that he moves to approve the use of the,
Cedar shake on the entire structure.
Second.
all in favor? Any discussion? No?
I voted aye, but I really have some reservations.
About cedar
You're
shake.
trying a little bit of the building and not the whole building. It's not the way you do it.
We don't want to start until we get full approval.
and
We wanna do
we're not
the
gonna-
cedar
That's
shake.
what I was.
a building permit will not be issued until
We won't be able to touch it.
everything
Yeah,
else.
but that's not it. It's a material.
Understand.
He's ordering materials. Okay.
So he will come
And then
back,
the- And then I understand cedar requires specially coated nails
Correct.
because they can't have the resting in the shape.
Yeah, correct. So my builder is really familiar with the area. He's worked on a couple of historic homes. So,
Right.
and, yeah,
Who is that? Who's your builder?
Shane Brooks.
and just so for the record, Michael has voted aye. Well, it was there, so I just didn't get a chance.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to do this, and it's a big project, and we're excited to, assist you in any way we
Yeah,
can.
well, I'm happy I got one hire.
Yes, no, that's good, and so,
I like federal interiors more also. So.
oh, good, all right, well, it's all gonna work out, yeah.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Yes, thank you. So what else are we doing? All right, update and resurvey of the historic district, phase 1 through 7. So we have our 7th survey completed, although we don't have it yet. I think it was an early submission that we saw, Michael's in on this. It was an early submission, and then in January, we had a Zoom conference call with Gwen Davis from SHPO and Kate Marthy from Chad. And so SHPO's directive was we have to, with this next grant, we have to consolidate all 7 of them. They're calling it Survey 8 or Phase 8. And and it will be all of SHPO's money, and it will be some of the city's money to get that done. And then and so we're working on the final, crossing the T's and dotting the I's on that the University of Delaware is working on. And then they'll get back to the city with their portion. So and so I'm just D2, which is the standard update. We're not going to talk, there's nothing new there. But then new business is the phase 8 of the resurvey of the historic district, SHPO and the city. So in addition to consolidating everything, and Michael has been the real lead in this, and he's just updated. And Michael, if you want to speak to this, you can, if you can speak, or I guess you have to type.
Did they ever give you the invoice?
Yes,
Yeah, oh, yes. The city had it, we met on a Monday, is that when we met?
we got it.
And we got it at the end of the week.
Yep, that Friday.
Mhm, yeah, it didn't all filter down to end of the
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and that was a University of Delaware accounting, you know. So as part of this, so what's in the requirement for, you know, combining everything and doing it so that we have a very user-friendly, workable index. And then, so it will be the basis for what we hope will then become a digital format. If we can figure out how to do all that on the city's website, because I personally find the city's website very hard to find stuff, and I don't know anybody, I think everybody does. So, you know, I don't know, you know, that's kind of really out of my pay grade, but that's the goal, is to be able to do that. So you can somehow go on there and just.
Are they tasking, is this, mayor and council or whoever, city, tasking us with coming up with a budget?
Well, what we have so far is we have SHPO's money, which I forget the total on that, and that's all, it doesn't require any money from the city. It's the federal government, and then the University of Delaware makes the match to it.
Right, but making it digital and user-friendly,
That we have to.
That's a whole different.
that we have to come up with,
Absolutely.
and that's not part of phase 8, or that is part of
That
phase.
is, yes.
So we need
That's
to
the,
come up
that's
with a
the
budget.
city's, no, we already have, we have
There's a-
$15,000.
Correct.
So we have that, but we don't have any information, and so we don't, it's suspect that will not be enough to do the digital.
I don't think it will be.
But you were saying that before.
Yeah, and so my question is, who's gonna do the legwork on coming up with those costs? Us or someone in the city?
I think that's a conversation we can have with the university and see what's going on and what you all are looking for. Then, you know, so we can come up with a good cost estimate.
Yeah, I asked them about that, and they did not have,
They have no idea.
they didn't have that yet. And I said, well, surely somewhere in the university, you know, you've been doing high-end digital, this and that. And so I think Kate was gonna ask some questions.
Do we have money to pay a consultant?
Right now, you have $15,000 in the budget.
15,000, and what Ted said at that budget meeting was that they were gonna be doing a budget adjustment on a couple different things. And so they didn't
That
want to.
would be one.
And so they didn't want to get into those additional items that I had listed, which were need for the update of the ordinance, you know, which we still don't have the last update on the fences, but, and I don't know how we figure that out, but now that we're on that subject, you know, we still, you know, I've got this, the one in my book, and I guess it's the same one everybody has, is, it's like 6/21, I think. And since then, there's been a couple of corrections. Yes, May 2021. And this one has like, you know, I think it's got a couple of spelling errors, and it's got, you know, a misprint on one of the codes that's in here.
So a copy of the ordinance that we received from E-Code, who does the city's code, was provided in the packets last month. And I actually gave everybody a copy of everything that had been updated in 197, which is the zoning ordinance. And sometimes you just have, because you all should have a copy of the zoning code. And it's just, you take the old page out and you put the new page in. So that was provided.
Is that a 3-hole punch?
No, it wasn't, because,
Right.
yeah, but
And that also, our binders are not big enough to accommodate all that air.
We don't,
Binders
I
are
don't
stuck.
think, we don't need the whole code.
well, again, I thought you guys all had the entire zoning code, which is just the zoning code. So we provided a copy of the ordinance.
But
It's there.
it's, yeah, I know. I got-
Yeah, I understand Michael's saying the formatting is entirely different, because what I provided is actually how the code is provided to staff. So if you get a copy of the code, looks like what you have is something that was printed off of the internet, which is gonna print differently.
This was actually typed up by Bonnie, I think, before she left. Because I had been waiting, and so she She typed it.
I don't know. I've provided the updated code sections. We can print you out the entire code section, but
Do they include the fences?
yes,
The fence update for,
yes.
see, I think the format is different for us. And this.
The format is the same for all zoning codes unless you print it out from the website.
It sounds to me like you have an old one.
Yeah.
And what you need to do is
Actually,
just,
this
have-
is-
if that's May 21,
This is May 21, and,
then that's,
and we've had other things since then. There's been 2 things, I think.
well, we know the fence is one, and I know
Yeah,
that's
but the
okay,
dates,
because I saw
because-
that.
Because Joe gave me those the other day, and what he handed me was missing several pages of. this
Right.
97.
So what Joe provided you was what we get from the code. So what we get and what we can get you, everybody, is if you don't already have it, is the entire zoning code or the entire section of code. Is that what we get from the company, that when we submit an ordinance to them for them to codify it, to put it into the code, they send us just the pages that got changed back. So you take out the old pages and you put the new page in and you have the code. Joe, you've got this, right? Okay, so yeah, I think Joe's got a couple of chapters of the code. But yeah, you take the old page out and you put the new page in. And what we provided was the pages that show the changes. So the pages provided actually are the pages that were updated based on the new code and the ordinances that were adopted.
So when
I don't know what that is or where that came from, because that does not look like it's the correct formatting for the zoning ordinance.
no, it's not.
So,
Format that we've always used.
and I honestly, I don't know what that is, because what we provide to everybody at the planning commission, the board of adjustment, is what we get from the code, which is the official code that is in the standard format that you will actually see on the city's website as well.
So the pages you're giving to us now are just the new pages?
Yes.
And so
Because-
we don't have.
Well, then we can provide the entire HPARC section of the code. So we'll make copies of the entire HPARC section of the code that you need.
And we need a larger binder and we need a 3-hole punch.
We will 3-hole punch them.
And to accommodate.
And if you want to get us your old binder, so we can take a look and make sure we get rid of all your old stuff and get you the new version. So if you've got an old binder and it's got old zoning code, we can trade that in. Okay, well then we will.
The only thing we have is 197.56. Then we have 57, 197.57, 197.58.
Yeah, so
197.59.
so Michael has just asked that we just get a copy from E-code for HPARC. We will provide that for the next meeting.
All right. Okay. Does the city have an IT person?
A part-time IT person.
Oh.
What's the
Because
question?
I'm really all about this digitizing these 7, combining these things. into
Yes.
one And making it user friendly. So I don't think that any of us, giving an estimate of what that would cost, I don't think that's in our wheelhouse.
No, I think it's a conversation I can have with a couple of GIS people. I can and we can try and get some information.
And so that we have a budget to put forward as part of the expense of getting this. I don't think having all 7 phases put together and then scanned and Xerox is gonna do a darn thing.
No, it needs to be searchable.
It needs to be searchable.
Yes.
You need to be able to click on an address that has a
Yes.
link attached to it and see that, so that the public.
Well, either that or just all of Second Street. Yeah, there's
And-
a couple different ways.
And again, I think we might have to take it in stages.
Oh, absolutely.
We might be able to get the PDF that's searchable, get that on the website, and then as we move on, we can make it more user friendly.
I just don't want to be having the same conversation a year or 2 from now.
Oh, and Michael says, no, I have addressed that in the memo to Chad.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, the application has been revised. The one we had, was there a reason for not using the one we had?
What application?
The application that people use to submit projects.
I believe that was updated a year or so
Yeah,
ago. or
Yeah,
if
I-
not longer. I don't know why it was updated. I think just, you guys did it.
I did it,
Okay.
Well, you did it, you
But I-
gave it to Michael and he,
and he revised it again,
so it fit on the page.
but underneath the historic preservation title was the address of the project. It wasn't the owner's home address, it was the project's address. And it's a little confusing to me anyway, to have to look and say, oh, I see, it's Franklin Avenue, not someplace else.
Okay, if you'd like that to be changed, we can fix that. I just want to make sure I got a consensus of everybody, but I think that's something maybe we put on an agenda because that's not actually on the agenda for tonight. So we can, if you'd like to discuss that in further detail, we can put that on the agenda in May if you'd like. Yep, you just let me know.
Because, well, are you talking about this one? Because it has the address of the project.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So we have the address of the project.
Right, but what was submitted to us isn't.
No, well,
that.
this is the checklist. This is what you worked on and then turned over to Michael.
And that's what we used to get with the submissions.
We do. It's with the submission.
I didn't get that copy.
Yes, it's in every one. Yeah, there it is.
Page 2.
It's different from what I remember it though.
See, when you did it large on 2 sheets, and so. But I
Yeah,
understood.
I had each paragraph in a rectangle. So they separated.
So,
Okay, I didn't see it on the second page. I was looking for it underneath the title.
I'm guessing those pages got stuck together.
What?
They probably just got stuck together and didn't want to turn. I have way too many pages that do that. All right, do you have any other questions about the new business? And we can move on to the chair and staff if you'd like.
yes, we did realize. I lost my agenda here. Okay. So that takes care of the unfinished business, new business, and now we have chair and staff. And that.
That's part of the job.
All right.
We had a busy last week, I guess, Barbara, proving some of the chair and staff. Has everybody had the chance to read the chair and staff?
And this is from February to March, so this is not the current ones that we've just been working on.
No.
There's always a month behind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there any questions with chair and staff? Okay. I don't know if you guys want me to go through every one or you just read it.
What's your pleasure?
I'm
You want me
fine
to
with
make
it.
comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Fine
It's
as
still
is.
sticking to the guidelines of
Right.
50,000 and below, right?
Mhm.
So when you're looking at the building permit coming in, it's 50 or
Yeah,
below.
and John, the new building inspector, because I was telling him that we've had some mishaps in the past with the chair and staff. And he said, well, maybe, he didn't really, I read it to him, and he said, well, perhaps it's the way it's written. It's shells and may and shoulds and, things like that. So I have to add that to the many things that we're going to revise.
I believe the one that we also, it was 342 Palatine Road that we want, and that was the price. That was the price you're talking about. It was approved. So,
And looks like you got the initials BW next to they're on those last ones that Barbara Warnell.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Why is that there?
Because
You reviewed it?
I reviewed it and sometimes.
Oh,
Bill
wait,
does-
I'm sorry, Mark. Oh, God, they all say BW.
Barbara does the residential, Bill does the commercial.
It's late, and I haven't had my dinner.
It's a secret.
Well, it's handwritten, okay.
not handwritten, it's typed.
This is a great feature because it
Oh,
actually
that one.
keeps the
Oh, okay.
application.
That just stuck out like a.
Yeah, it does.
Instead of a bunch of them piling up, we'd be here all night.
And then tomorrow, and to
Yeah,
tomorrow, yeah.
You know, with prices going up, that's why I mentioned the 50K, you know, maybe it's something down the pike, we gotta look at.
Yeah.
All right, so Michael says, nope, he's all good, and he says good night to everyone.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just reading it.
Not adjourned yet, Michael.
I don't think you want to enlarge it anymore because it's already gotten,
Too many on there, Karen, yeah.
no, it's the fact that the scope changes. And, you know, people start to stretch the scope.
Okay,
And it should only be things that we approve on a regular basis.
okay.
Replacement windows, a new door, a new roof, you know.
And brings it back to the commission. and that's
Yes, and as soon as you change the streetscape or
Yeah.
you want to change it, put a big addition on, it needs to come back.
good. Yeah.
We've had too many, you know, things over the top.
This way it stays the course.
Mhm,
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I move we adjourn.
okay.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. for
Appreciate you
your
guys, thank you.
Participation.
It was a good
and-
night.
Yeah.
Yes.